Welcome to Truth by Billie Beene. Today's date, October 3, 2025. Time in Texas, about 4 p.m. Some of the things we'll cover. Things do appear to be going hot on multiple U.S. military war fronts, including Venezuela and Iran. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscribers, BPEARTHWATCH, Space Weather, formerly Suspicious Observers, Hal Turner, Redacted, David Nino Rodriguez, plus. So let's get started. We're going to begin with what's going on in space, and I think what's going on in space is also impacting what's going on in war fronts. So we have the Earth, we have Mars, we have Atlas, we have the Sun continuing with solar wind at millions of miles per hour. We're going into our 5th day of geomagnetic storms, and we have this going on. BP Earthwatch, and we also have Atlas coming very close to Mars today, October 3. We have multiple U.S. and other nations using their probes and satellites around Mars to turn and look at Atlas. We have this from BP Earthwatch talking about the Black Knight satellite that's been known about for decades, that also appears to be an interstellar object that's been circling the Earth. Governments don't know the source of this Black Knight satellite, but it orbits from north to south in this direction around the Earth. And pictures now are coming out showing it has folding wings, indicating it's also an interstellar space object, not a natural comet or asteroid, as we're seeing multiple sources declare about Atlas. I believe it was David Nino Rodriguez also had a report from 107 that some sources are saying this object Atlas could be used by the deep state as part of their Project Blue Beam. Oh, the ETs are here, our creators, and so on. Brad Olsen, recently interviewed by David Nino Rodriguez, also brought out that tie. So that could play into nations now moving forward with very strong warlike efforts. So that's going on. And another agenda at the generals meeting could be this Atlas interstellar object also, which was, we understand, first spotted by the U.S. government in 1977. The Atlas interstellar object signal was first detected in 1977. And BP Earthwatch believes that Atlas is an interstellar spaceship that's using an ion engine. So that's going on. And we have this by Redacted. Now, we're still hearing information coming out about the Charlie KIRK assassination. So by Redacted, recently interviewed Jason GOODMAN of Crowdsource. And I recommend watching that video. He had a lot of forensic evidence to indicate. So Charlie was sitting in a chair and he was shot from behind, not from the direction that the FBI is trying to say Tyler Robinson was located. None of the forensic evidence I have seen supports the FBI's lies. And so this is coming out. Also, I recently did watch the movie Snake Eyes that came out in 1998, and I do see several ties there between the Charlie Kirk assassination. The deep state likes to give out, you know, God puts out prophecies, the deep state puts out movies. In this movie, we had a politician named Charles Kirkland shot in the neck. And we saw Charlie Kirk shot, receiving, it's now coming out, appears likely the neck wound was actually the exit. And another tie with the movie Snake Eyes is that in the movie there was a boxer. It was the event took place at a boxing match, and they had a boxer who was to fall back, the fall guy, and then the shooting would begin, and the boxer's name was Tyler. And the shooter in the movie is named Kelvin Dunn. Now, I have that word of knowledge from the Lord, Drafe, D-R-A-F-E. So it's possible, I believe, that the real shooter's initials could be K or C and last name beginning with D. So that's going on. We'll see how the deep state wants to play this. But the majority of American citizens, those who get their news outside TV, are not believing the FBI account. So that's going on. And we have this. Yeah. So we see unrest taking place in the U.S. and with the U.S. government, President Trump, declaring that inside the U.S. we do have a war going on, which also legally allows the U.S. military to be spread out across the U.S., which we do see. Now, Dabu 77 is reporting today we have a NOTAM, a no-fly area put up over Chicago to defend that area against drones. It is a 15-mile radius circle emanating out from the downtown area. The U.S. government put the NOTAM in place over Chicago today based on a credible threat. So that's going on. We have this from Dialogue Works, who interviewed Colonel Wilkerson and Larry Johnson. Yeah, Kash Patel puts forth that Tyler Robinson is the fall guy, but the American people are not buying it, nor are people buying that Charlie Kirk was shot with a .30-06, which would have caused his head to explode. And it's also believed that there were ties among whoever it is who assassinated Charlie Kirk between certain U.S. banks and Israel. And we have this also coming forth, talking about what's going on with the U.S., also in the Middle East, Iran, we have Israel, we have Yemen, we have Eritrea is involved also. There's another body of water right here. Okay. So this is coming forth Iran is receiving from Russia S-400 defense system plus MiGs. And the U.S. also preps for war in both Venezuela and the Middle East. And today, so we have in Venezuela, in the Caribbean, we have additional U.S. military warship, a new U.S. military cruise ship fitted and used specially by U.S. military special forces. So that's going on. We have this from Alex CHRISTEFEROU. It appears imminent the U.S. will hit Venezuela and bring about a regime change. And it's coming out that there are opposition groups inside Venezuela that are cooperating with the U.S. military to get rid of Maduro inside Venezuela and replace him with the elected president of Venezuela, Edmundo Gonzalez, who is currently in exile in Spain, who has been briefed by President Trump. So that's going on. We have this, President Trump. The U.S. is currently in an armed conflict. It's non-international and it's inside the U.S. President Trump has notified Congress that the U.S. military will use force to attack drug cartels and other terrorist organizations inside the U.S. MonkeyWorks brings out information about the ghost fleet that has to do with certain oil tankers shipping Russian oil. We know there are sanctions against Russian oil by some nations. Information comes out that France just landed on one of the Russian oil tankers. That's all the information we have. And we have currently today, Thursday, over the U.S., 2 E-6s. Yesterday, we had 6. We have C-17 transport planes and refuelers going to Puerto Rico. That would be associated with Venezuela. Also Japan and the Middle East. So that's going on. We have this. Dialogue Works recently interviewed Martin Armstrong, internationally famous economist, who also provides information from his predictive software Socrates, talking about the European Union and NATO are working on a plan to invade Russia. And that in 1917, Russia had inside Russia, a massive amount of gold was hidden, which has still not been found. And that European economy is crashing, so they are going to try to go to war. And currently, the number of dead Ukrainian citizens is 1.8 million. And Socrates predictive software predicts Russia and China will join together versus the deep state controlled European Union and NATO. And if that happens, Socrates predicts the European Union and NATO will lose. And we have this going on. Europe, the European Union preps to put in place CBDCs and also to seize citizen bank accounts to pay for the war in Ukraine. And it's coming out from Martin Armstrong that many of the Bitcoin exchanges are really money launderers. So that's going on. We have this from Mike from Around the World, interviewed last night on Pastor Paul Begley's Thursday night program. War in Venezuela is imminent, and in the Middle East is imminent, involving the U.S. military. And Mike from Around the World says, keep your eye on Georgia. Something big will happen there soon. This is the nation of Georgia that's adjacent to Russia. Mike from Around the World predicts war in Venezuela and the Middle East involving the U.S. military within a 20 to 25 day window. And we have this. We have that, yes. So yesterday I reported we had off of the Venezuela coast, Venezuela had put a NOTAM over their coast. The U.S. military put up 5 F-35s. And it's coming out that they were just adjacent to Venezuela's economic exclusion zone, which goes out about 12 miles. The 5 F-35s, Hal Turner puts out, it was a psyop because they had their transponders on so that Venezuela could clearly see they were being threatened by the U.S. military. And now we have this. Today, October 3, this afternoon, secret intel came out that Hal Turner is putting out that we had U.S. troops on Navy ships located in the Caribbean and also in the area of Puerto Rico. Today, received orders this morning, late this morning, that the U.S. military would be invading Venezuela to bring about a territorial seizure operation inside Venezuela. Other U.S. military ground troops in Puerto Rico received the same message. And we have U.S. F-35Bs, the Lightning fighter jets in Puerto Rico, right here, today, being loaded with bombs. They were being loaded with Blue 111 bombs, 500-pound joint direct hit bombs called JDAMs, 500-pound JDAMs, that were being loaded with active missiles, the Sidewinder, air-to-air missiles. And the mission is to take place with these bombers from Puerto Rico in the southern Caribbean. So that's going on. We see U.S. military action in Venezuela. As I put out in a previous video, I believed it would be imminent in Venezuela and Iran in the next few days. And this is what we're seeing. Also from Iran comes top secret eyes-only intel via Hal Turner. So the U.S. military operation in the Middle East, which began last Sunday and continues today with the many C-17 cargo planes, many refuelers, each refueler accompanied by 5 to 10 fighter jets going to the UAE, Bahrain, and Qatar. And this is a setup for the U.S. military versus Iran in the Red Sea. This is the Red Sea right here. And we see Yemen, Eritrea is actually in Africa. So we see Yemen, we have the Red Sea, we have the Bab al-Mandab Strait right here, and we have the U.S. military today setting up along the coast of both Yemen and Eritrea, that's in Africa, on each side of the Red Sea. We see the U.S. military setting up to take control of the Bab el-Mandab Strait. And we have this. The U.S. military is now engaging and using in this Red Sea area Navy drones, fast attack boats, radar systems, anti-ship missiles. This has been confirmed by Russian intel, and also that Israel and the U.S. may make a joint hit on Iran plus Russia. That's inside Iran to hit the joint Iran-Russia nuclear sites inside Iran. Russian cargo planes continue to land in Iran. So that's been continuous since the U.S. began last Sunday sending all this military equipment to Qatar, UAE, and Bahrain. Russia began then delivering additional equipment, possibly troops, inside Iran. So we have multiple planes coming into Iran from eastern Russia, where Su-35s are manufactured. Russian intel puts this out to U.S. intel. If Israel and or the U.S. hit Russian planes inside Iran in the air or on the ground, Russia will consider that an act of war and will attack back. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.